Okay, the world of Riot MMO is already done. I think they have the bone structure done. I think they're like polishing it to make it perfect. And I think in 2023, Alpha will come out. Like maybe towards the end.
In the past, MMOs were regarded as the godfathers of games. They were the peak of what developers could accomplish. Even though, looking back, that's a fairly subjective thing to say. Everyone knew MMOs had the power to create cult following, but also everyone knew making MMOs was hard.
It is
On
very
average,
hard.
an MMO has to spend at least 6 years in the baking before it can get anywhere near being good. But that didn't stop companies from jumping onto the bandwagon anyway. And soon we could see dozens of new MMOs, all releasing in 2008.
Holy, I
all
remember
being called
these.
the WoW killers. Spoiler alert, none of them did that.
None of them did.
And unfortunately,
I was a
we can
proud
feel the
WoW
ripple
player.
effects even now. It got to a point
You know
where
what's crazy? All that new MMO came out, I didn't even touch them. I only played WoW. And I would fight kids in high school saying WoW is better than Ion or Terra. And WoW was superior.
every time a new
I don't know if I
MMO
could
is
defend it
announced, we
now,
all
but
think the
back then
same
I
thing.
defended it hard.
Oh. Anyway, when
Wait,
you're
there's an
working on an
Avatar
MMO, you
MMO?
have to respect 3 pillars. Gameplay is king, social interactions matter, and the world setting is important. When Riot announced their MMO, it became clear that 2 of the pillars are being respected, and the third one is already done. When it comes to the gameplay, it is currently in the hands of Ghostcrawler, someone who's been working on WoW during its best times, and someone who got a reputation for hating boomkins and loving mages. When it comes to the social interactions, it is a dance between the developers and the players. A dev can guide players towards social interactions, or they can annihilate them. And after that, the players usually find their own fun inside the MMO. From that point on, the devs should do everything in their power to support the players having fun in their own way. And finally, when it comes to the world of an MMO, in Riot's case, it's done. And it's been finished for quite a few years now. In fact, the world of Riot's MMO is in such a good state. They already have the continents, the zones, the cultures, and the races. And to a lesser degree, every zone already has its own storyline. Now, of course,
This is
unless you
far.
follow the lore of League of Legends, you wouldn't know about this. And that's why I decided to make this video. I want to show you all the zones we are going to see in the MMO and what sorts of quests we are going to do there. So, for the purpose of this video, I will assume you have no idea what League of Legends is about. You have no idea what the universe is about, but you like MMOs, your hairline is receding, and you have a crippling fear of Nintendo 64 controllers. To which I might add, why do you think I'm wearing hats? But now, without further ado, let's
Feels
have a look
bad,
at
dude.
all the zones in Riot's MMO. This is Runeterra, the world of League of Legends. Right now, the world is separated into 10 main regions. But these 10 regions don't cover all the land on the map, so there are some mini-zones in between them. And the lore already revealed that there is gonna be another continent further to the east. That definitely sounds like a future expansion to me. In fact, it would be foolish to release all of these regions at launch. You can easily turn half of these
Bumpy.
into separate expansions.
Some nonsense.
And because a lot of people already know and love these regions, the hype behind these expansions would be big. With that said, I know a lot of you would like to play as Shurimans or Ionians. And now you may be cursing me for suggesting that these would be expansions. But the lore can justify giving you these nations as playable races without having their regions. I'll show you how Riot can pull this off in a bit. First, let's talk about the regions Riot's MMO has to start with. The Northern Continent. This entire continent is called Valoran. Not Valorant, Valoran. And this is where the
That's the
absolute
origin of
core of this
Valorant.
world
That's where they
is.
came from.
The 2 main regions here are Demacia and Noxus. They are the 2 big rivals equivalent to the Horde and the Alliance. While I would like to say that Demacia is your classic normie human region, it's not really true.
They're not
Runeterra
normies,
doesn't really have a
man.
normal place. There is something cool happening in every region. And Demacia has racism. Okay, maybe not racism, because
Oh,
Demacia doesn't mind
shit.
Yordles or Minotaurs,
Oh shit, they're
but they
racist?
really hate mages. That's because in the past, their rivals almost annihilated half of the world using magic. And
Wait,
so
they're like Malagos. Malagos is trying to get rid of all the cast or mage magic in the world, right? But we killed them. We're
Demacia
the
was
bad
built
people.
inside a magic-absorbing forest. Therefore, Demacia is a really cool place where you can hide from magic. When it comes to the visuals of the zone, you can see
Isn't
a lot
Lux
of
a
lush
magician,
fields.
though? I
It is
thought
surrounded by
Lux shoots
mountains,
magic.
but the iconic part of Demacia are the buildings. They are made of petricite, which is a combination of stone and the magic-absorbing wood. Because these ancient magic-absorbing trees were grey, all the buildings have a marble-like appearance. And yes, given what material they are using, all the buildings in Demacia also absorb magic. So should a mage visit this region,
holy, dude, this place looks insane, dude.
It's gonna be a painful experience. On top of this,
please
let's not
make
forget
it this
that
cool,
Demacians can weaponize petricite. They can turn it into petricite steel, which gives you your classic anti-magic weapons, and you can sculpt petricite constructs which wake up after absorbing magic. Simply
dude,
said,
this is a very
these
good
guys
video.
just
Holy moly.
really don't like magic.
This
The
guy's going
irony
in
is,
deep.
they've been absorbing it for years now. And this is where the story would kick in. You see, the Demacians are so afraid of magic, they founded the Mage Seeker Order. This is an order of people who hunt mages, they throw them into prison, and they torture them until their body gives up on magic. So yes, being a mage is a crime in Demacia.
What the heck?
The thing is, people still get naturally born with magical abilities. You can't stop it from happening. So not only are there mages hiding in the royal court, right now there is a mage civil war happening in Demacia, where mages and people who don't hate mages rise up to fight for moral rights. So should we do some quests in this zone?
Why don't they allow it?
This is gonna be the core story. Mages trying to overthrow racist leadership following old laws. So the main enemy NPCs might be mages and witches. But I know what you're thinking now, and don't worry. There will be plenty of boars to kill here too. Or at least there are loads of wolves here, as well as stags. And we can't forget the iconic Demacian raptors. But further to the south,
that does not look like a
find
raptor.
some crag beasts, tiny woolly elephants, and yes, of course in the Argent Mountains there are also dragons. Loads and loads of dragons.
What a
But that's
Shivana
about
on
it
the
for
left.
Demacia. Fun fact, the capital city of Demacia is called the Great City of Demacia. Sounds dumb, but Runeterra was not the first one to come up with this. But thankfully the other regions are a bit more creative with their names. So now, let's move away from
I closed it back when he linked it because I thought they were magicians just pulling out of nothing. But this guy actually knows the lore. Holy moly. This is a good video.
the normie region, and let's have a look at the badass region, Noxus. If you're planning on playing a warrior with oversized weapons and overcompensating lush hair,
Dude, I think I want to go Noxian. I wanted to go the Demacia because I like Garen. Or Garen's like a paladin. I made a paladin in WoW. But they seem more badass.
this is the region for you. This place actually has a long and badass history, but we really don't have the time to explain it now. So just know that originally it was built by the most badass warrior in the history of Runeterra. This motherfucker literally died on a mountain of corpses. And after he died, he was too angry to stay dead, so he just became the god of the underworld. When this guy lived, he built the Immortal Bastion, which is to this day the largest structure on the entirety of Runeterra. And currently he is banished underneath
Damn, I didn't
the
know Mordekaiser was
Bastion,
that
but only a
badass.
few people know about it. So, you know, that's a future raid boss. Anyway, the Immortal Bastion is the capital city of the Noxian Empire, with Noxus being one of the most brutal nations in Runeterra. It is brutal because the nation is surrounded by rocky earth. It is hard to grow plants here, so Noxians are forced into conquering surrounding land for resources to survive. That's why when you go to the map you can notice that the Noxian territory is all over the place. It's because these are all the places Noxus has already conquered. Although, when I say it like that, you may imagine Noxus brutally raiding everything. But that's not true. They like to absorb the surrounding nations into their empire. After all, it's just more human resources.
Is it LeBlanc?
Most of the time, they only remove the royalty.
But I didn't know LeBlanc was a Demacian. Holy moly.
And they let the leaderless people join their empire. And that's because Noxus values strength above all, and rulers tend to not be good fighters. This is what you can see in the After Victory cinematic. They killed the king because he was weak and let everyone else join them. Fun fact, conquering nations is so iconic for Noxus,
she's
they
Noxian,
have their own saying. Kill them until they are family.
Oh, no, that's what I meant. Noxian. Sorry, yeah.
So when it comes to the quests in Noxus, it is most likely going to be helping the Empire expand its
Who is
territory.
that? That guy looks badass.
Although this region has its own unique enemies too. Inside the Immortal Bastion, there is a cult known as the
evil
Black
here.
Rose. This cult is
That's a random
connected to
NPC?
the darkest of magics.
Dude, that random
so be
NPC
ready
looks
to fight
badass.
Elementals, witches,
Hey,
demons,
yo.
and the Grey Legion, which is an army of soldiers revived with blood magic to fight for the Empire again. And when it comes to collecting 10 bear asses, here we have the native Drakehounds and Basilisks. Now, while Noxus and Demacia are the main rivals here, both of them are also constantly repelling raids from the north. So now, let's have a look at the Freljord. Just like pretty much any region of Runeterra, Freljord has a long history. But for the purpose of this video, just know that the maddening old gods known as the Watchers of the Void, who want to devour the
Dude, I will say, this guy's so good at standing and talking. He's actually doing a great job. He's like looking over at his monitor, but he's doing a great job.
reality only because it keeps waking them up, once tried to breach into reality here.
Good.
They almost succeeded because they tricked the
He's really
Ice Witch
good.
Lysandra into helping them. Fortunately, she realized how wrong she was, and she managed to freeze half of the kingdom with the Watchers still beneath them. So these days, the Ice Witch is the only person holding back the end of reality by keeping the Watchers frozen. So at some point in the future, you bet one of these woken up frozen Watchers is gonna be a raid boss.
That's sick.
Now, when it comes to the NPCs,
God, I'm
this is
excited
where
for
things
this.
get diverse. First of all, remember that the Freljord is brutally cruel. Everything is frozen, and survival is everything. So the first enemy here would be the wildlife. From Rhymefangs to Yetis to Druvasks to Elnuks to Mammoths to the worst of them all, Poros. Next we are going to fight the Freljordians themselves. There are three main tribes here. The Avarosans, who are quite peaceful, the Winter's Claw, who are quite brutal, and the Frostguard, Lysandra's followers who hold back the Watchers. And let me tell you, these guys have some badass armor. Among the notable tribes there are also the Ursine, which are shamans who worship the Volibear, the primal god of the wild who slowly turns his
I don't remember Volibear looking this epic, chat. What the? His new art's insane.
Worshippers into twisted animalistic
Coney,
monstrosities.
what's up?
Speaking of which, yes, there are also the primal gods of Freljord. And finally, we need to talk about the Iceborn. When the Watchers tried to arrive here, they tainted the ice around them. This special ice is called the True Ice. And it is so dangerous, you literally die if you touch it. However, the Watchers also tainted some people, giving them the ability to touch the ice.
Oh, what is his name? Broloff or something? What is his name, chat?
It is still extremely painful for them to hold a true ice weapon, but at least they can survive it. These people are known as the
I know it started with the B, I don't remember.
But people were not the only things that were tainted. There are also ice trolls, some of whom are also iceborn. To be honest, these guys were made to have their own dungeon. But there are also some animals that were twisted by the Watchers. And Lysandra is even twisting some beings herself to make them serve her. So overall, Freljord is gonna have a lot of cool warriors, shamans, and horrors. So these would be the three regions on the main continent. But this place is actually so big it can easily make the base world of the game. Especially since there are a bunch of smaller regions in between them. There is Nockmerge, full of witches, Argent Mountains with their dragons, Tokgol with void monsters, Dalamore Plains with him, and so much more.
Who's that?
But from here, you can cleverly set up the expansions because of how well everything is interconnected. So now, let's have a look at the continent to the east.
Random NPC?
Ionia.
Dude, she looks freaking insane.
Ionia has a very close connection to Noxus. You can only guess why. It's because Noxians once tried to conquer it all during an event simply called the Invasion of Ionia. This was a horrible war full of using children as soldiers because Noxians thought Ionians wouldn't fight back against children, and chemical weapons. Lots and lots of
Wait,
chemical...
these guys are evil. Wait, they use children's because they thought Noxians wouldn't hurt children's? Dude, this place is effed up, man.
weapons. Speaking of which, remember
Holy.
Singed from Arcane? He's the guy who chemically devastated Ionia. Eventually, Noxus failed, but they kept their small control.
Noxians lost to kids? Holy, they suck, dude. I'm not playing Noxians, dude. They freaking... Dude, they're soys, man. They lost to children? I'm playing Iona, boys. I'm playing Iona.
So the first quest here could be simply
Holy
boarding
moly.
a ship, sailing over, and exploring the place for the Noxian Empire. Now, when it comes to Ionia itself, the place gets mystical. Everything here is alive and connected to the spirit of nature. And I mean...
wait, did I misread it? Was it Noxus that used the children, not the Ionians?
everything, from the animals
Sorry.
to the people to the buildings. Everything is alive. So if you anger Mother Nature, your house can twist and strangle you in your sleep. So you can only imagine
What?
how Mother Nature fought against Noxians.
Holy.
Usually a river came alive to drown them. That's why all the buildings here look like they were woven from wood. It's because they were. With nature magic, people let nature build their houses. It also means that sometimes
Wow.
your house can just walk away.
House.
When it comes to the NPCs here, obviously
Wait,
there's
can
gonna
they
be
build
a
my
lot of nature
house?
spirits. And a lot more of simply mystical animals. From giant flying tigers to
Ooh.
the never-ending story. But be ready to also face local Ionians, Blade Masters, Shadow Cultists, Murderers, and Ninjas. Both good,
Shen.
bad, and the in-between. But finally, there is also one more enemy that we could face. The furries. That's right. This
I
race is
love
known as
furry.
the
Wait,
Vastaya.
wait, dude, they're
They
better
are
furs
half
than
humans
WoW.
and half magical animals. And yes, canonically,
Hey,
the
yo.
species was born in exactly the way you are thinking. But to be fair, the Vastaya are quite cool and they
Wait,
are
what do you
definitely
mean?
gonna be
What do you
a
mean they
playable
created the way
race.
we're thinking?
Just like Yordles, who also like Ionia a lot. Lastly, after Noxians ravaged Mother Nature, demons started occupying all the places filled with misery and doubt. So that's gonna be a nice bonus enemy. So yes, the exploration of Ionia and the raid on the Shadow Order could be a really cool first expansion. But it's definitely not Riot's only option, because we can also go south to Piltover and Zaun. These are the ones
I
people
love
will know about, simply
Arcane.
because this is where Arcane took place. Piltover and Zaun are two massive cities
Chills.
located one above the other. And they are so massive they could easily be turned into their own playable zones. They are both focusing on futuristic technology powered up by magic of the Hextech
I know that
gemstones.
one. I know.
Using
too,
this
man.
magic, they can power up
Chills.
anything from guns to augmented limbs to vehicles. Visually, it is
Wait,
simply
that looks like General Grievous's.
futuristic Victorian era. And unfortunately, there wouldn't be much of enemy variety. We would likely fight the rich houses of Piltover and their deadly assassins, with the occasional thief on the streets, corrupt wardens, and the occasional rogue steam golem. But things get a bit more interesting in the undercity known as Zaun. Zaun is the dirty underbelly covered in
Zaun.
thick toxic smoke. Because the majority of people are poor here, they developed a cheaper alternative to Hextech called Chemtech. This artificial green stuff can power up cheaper limb replacements, as well as highly unstable weaponry. Zaun is also controlled by the Chem Barons, which are obviously gonna be the main enemy here. But on the side, we may also meet some chemical mutants, unstable
Mundo.
constructs, as well as some mass
Scion.
murderers and people who hunt down mass murderers. And funnily enough, at
Kobo,
the very,
what's up?
very bottom of Zaun itself,
Oh, it's a
there are
singed,
the
sorry,
hidden ruins
sorry.
of an ancient city full of traps. That is obviously gonna be a cool dungeon. So yes, there is not much more that I can add here. Piltover and Zaun were simply explored in Arcane. So if you like the series, you are gonna like this place. From here, we can travel further
There's
south
more?
to Shurima. Shurima used to be a massive
Listen, man, I quit League season 3 or 4. I don't remember all these new people.
empire that ruled the world. But after the Emperor got betrayed by his best friend, the entire empire collapsed. This region is a massive desert with the occasional city near a river. In the center of the region there is the Sun Disk, a colossal piece of star metal that has the power to reflect celestial magic. The Shurimans use this celestial magic to turn their best soldiers into the Ascended, also known as the Golden God Warriors.
Chat, what was that crocodile champion? I love that guy. I mained him for a little bit. And that was like the bird guy. He summons like bird soldiers and goes like whoosh. Renekton. Oh my. Dude, he was so cool.
These God Warriors wouldn't make
Wait, he looks badass. Holy, dude, they all gonna rework. That's what I respect about League, man. They rework their champions.
Here. That's because after the Emperor had died, the Ascended started fighting for leadership. And slowly, after learning how to use blood magic to gain the edge, they morphed their own bodies and became the Darkin. Twisted, blood-frenzied monsters that would certainly make really cool raid bosses. Besides this ancient evil, Shurima is also full of its own animals, raiders, dune scavengers, and on top of all of that, void creatures. That's because to the
Holy moly, dude, Clank, pick a game you want to play. I'm turning off BNet. He keeps like logging off, logging in, logging up. He can't choose what game he wants to play, dude. Holy moly, dude.
South, there used to be a kingdom known as Ikathia that wanted to destroy the Shuriman Empire. So, they asked the Watchers for help. You can imagine how that went. The Watchers sent through some void beasts that consumed Ikathia and polluted Shurima to this day. To fight back the void, Shurima does have a lot of hidden tombs around with hidden god warrior weapons. Not to mention that Shurima also has a circle of time mages who are trying to freeze the void in time. Now, as I mentioned near the beginning of the video, even if Shurima becomes an expansion, they can still easily make Shurimans a playable race because they are already connected to Noxus. As you can see, of course, Noxians already conquered part of Shurima. So some Shurimans are fighting for Noxus.
Yeah, I could see this
also,
becoming
as
an
a cool
expansion.
fact, for those of you who liked Arcane, Hex Crystals are harvested in Shurima. That's why a Shuriman expansion would be a great follow-up to Piltover and Zaun. And again, that's why Riot can easily turn only the northern continent into the base world. Anyway, going west from Shurima, we arrive at Mount Targon. This place is incredibly unique. First of all, this mountain is not natural. It was literally pulled up from the ground by celestial gods. And that's because this place serves as a portal to the celestial realm, also known as Targon Prime. Now, because this mountain was pulled up, it also has some unique features. For example, you may find frozen lakes frozen horizontally on the mountain. And the very peak of the mountain is special too. Should a mortal reach the peak despite the brutal climate and the deadly wildlife, either they die from exhaustion, or the celestial gods deem them worthy and they become an ascended aspect. There is aspect of war, aspect of the sun, aspect of the moon, aspect of the twilight.
Dude, who's that?
There is aspect.
That guy looks badass.
Aspect of war, aspect of the sun, aspect of the moon, aspect of the twilight, aspect of the guardian, and so on.
Wait, this guy's an aspect? Tariq?
Simply said, after people reach the peak, they become some of the strongest beings on the entire planet. So of course, the mountain is full of people who worship the celestial demigods. And I speculate this is where we could get a lot of cool
this guy's Chica Chad.
There are the
Who
Solari
is this?
who are devoted to the
I'm playing this class. What is this, man? This is like Paladin.
Aspect of the sun.
This guy's
then
a rando?
Rivals,
What
the
the fuck? He
Lunari,
looks
who are
so
devoted
cool.
to the aspect of the moon. But also, the tribe I assume will become a playable class, the Warriors of Rakor. Of course, besides
I'm playing these people. These people look badass shit.
just humans, Targon also has all sorts of furry Vastaya. Near the bottom of the mountain, you may notice that the mountain is alive. But also there are Stellarcorns, a variety of mind-bending creatures, and loads of dragons. Speaking of which, remember that this place is linked to the Celestial Realm. So
Yeah,
this is where we may also meet the star-forging Celestial Dragon Aurelian Soul, as well as all sorts of other celestial beings. A lot of these would make for interesting bosses. In
True.
fact, the ascension of Mount Targon would be a really cool raid. Next, on the other side of Shurima, there is Ixtal. This is a special place where people are mastering the elemental magic. They are using it for everything: fishing, smithing, walking, and this place is definitely gonna be saved for an expansion. Basically, remember when Icathian asked the Watchers for help?
Holy dude, how many zones does the league have? They have this all ironed out, dude. This is insane. Name of the game, it's not out yet, man. It's the World of Riot MMO. We don't even know what the Riot MMO is gonna be called. Mexico? This is not Mexico, hello? It kind of looks like the South, though.
And then that happened? Ixtal was their neighbor, and after they saw the
Hey,
Void devour an entire kingdom, they believed the Void would soon devour the entire world. So, using their elemental magic, Ixtal built massive walls of plants around their entire region, isolating themselves from the rest of the world. For 3,500 years, Ixtal stayed isolated, believing that the world outside of their walls was devoured by the Void. But now, very recently, some mages found out that the world outside is completely fine. So now, the Ixtali mages are slowly revealing themselves. To be honest, Ixtal is the most
their land looks
underdeveloped
insane.
region in Runeterra. We know the region has a lot of hunting Vastaya, deadly plants and some elemental dragons, but most of the region is still a mystery to us. So at least here, Riot will have the freedom to try something new. But now, we'll leave the main continent to visit the last two regions. First of all, there is Bilgewater. If you like pirate
Holy,
adventures,
there's so many,
this is gonna
man.
be your place. This is where we are going to explore inns and gambling.
Oh, this is where Gangplank, right? And Misfortune. Dude, I used to love Gangplank.
The One Piece! The One Piece
You
is
love that,
real!
dude. You love Stagger Shroud. Alright, after that's over, we'll play the video.
Even some local temples worshipping the god of motion, Nagake Boros. Here we are going to fight pirates and sea monsters.
Chat, does
sea
Gangplank
witches,
still eat
sea
orange?
Vastaya, maybe some demons. And possibly we'll side with Sarah Fortune to fight the king of the pirates,
He does.
Gangplank.
Stop. I want to watch the video. No interruptions, please. I hate that. We need to remove that, man.
But there's a lot more here. Last year, Riot released their RPG, which was set in Bilgewater. So not only can we already explore this place in detail, but it even has a monster journal. And at a quick glance, you can already see some really cool bosses too. However, this place is also linked to the
Dude,
last
what is this game? This game looks fun.
place I want to show you today. The Shadow Isles. See, every year the horrors of the Shadow Isles lurk out, and Bilgewater just happens to be the closest place. So every year, Bilgewater is fighting the
Hecarim.
undead. Once upon a time, the Shadow Isles used to be the Blessed Isles, a rich place full of advanced magic. Long story short, there was a young asshole king who wanted to revive his dead queen, and in the process he accidentally released dark necromantic magic. This magic destroyed the island and made it home for undeath. In the lore, this event is called the Ruination, and because the RPG is called The Ruined King, it may not be a surprise to you that you also get to explore the Shadow Isles there. And there they have anything you can imagine. Undead horrors creeping everywhere. And should we ever venture into these islands, I have no idea whom we're going to fight. The Ruined King who caused all of this is banished elsewhere. Thresh, who siphoned his magic after he was banished, also left the island.
Thresh would be a cool raid boss.
And even Hecarim, the most brutal soldier of them all, is currently
Hecarim
around
too.
Demacia. So the Shadow Isles don't currently have a main baddie. So this is where Riot could push forward some of the side characters.
I think they could go back in time and we just fight them, right? Like in that era. Because we don't know what era we're going to start playing from, right?
Now, even though these have all been the regions that are currently set up on Runeterra, Riot has already confirmed that there is a new continent further to the east. Currently, it is planned to be revealed in the upcoming Ruination novel. And so far, we know that this new continent is where the ruined King Viego is from. and this is also where he was banished at the end of his story. All we know about that place is that it is quite mystical. There are yet more dragons here, and in fact, Kamavor, which is the Ruined King's nation, has a lot of draconic armor. So should Riot run out of places to explore, don't worry, they can always
Holy,
make
they have
it
so
more.
much story, dude.
But that's all I wanted to show you today. As someone who's been following the lore of League of Legends from the very beginning, I can tell you, I'm very confident the setting of Riot's MMO is gonna be great. Their incredible writers have been preparing the world for years now. And now, it's time to harvest the fruit. If you like this video,
Chat,
let me
it's
know
time to harvest the fruit. It's time.
in the comments below. Because
Next
right
year,
now I still have
we're harvesting
3 more
the fruit,
topics
okay?
that I could talk about in regards to the MMO. I especially want to talk about the potential raid bosses we can face, and the potential classes we could play. And as someone who has collected an unholy amount of transmog, I would love to show you all the cool armor sets this universe has. But that's it for this video.
That was a fantastic
See
video.
you in 6 to 8 years when the MMO gets released.
No, man. When was this video made? Okay, 3 months ago. No. We're gonna get it next year or the after, chat. Here's the video, chat. Bam, bam, bam. Next video? Wait, we didn't watch this one, though. Is this one that one, Nomson? Oh, it is that. It is the same one. Okay, we can watch this one. Give me 1 sec, though. I need to grab my cat. He's behind my monitor. Okay. Here we go, dude. The races and classes of Riot MMO according to the lore.
Well, I'm back. Last time we had a look at the world of Riot's MMO, and we talked about how the overall world design has been
was a
done
great
for a
video.
few years now.
His
If you
videos
have
are good.
no idea what League's universe is about, I would recommend watching that one first.
Okay, I will.
But now that we learned about
just
the
watched
basics,
that.
we can dive into the other big MMO topic, the playable races and classes. When it comes to the races, just like the world, they are pretty much done. Over the years, the lore fleshed out the races of Runeterra, and now they each have their own unique story. In fact, at this point, it feels like we know Riot will not make up.
Dude, this is gonna be really hard. This is gonna be the hardest choice you guys will ever make. Picking what race and class to play in the Riot MMO. They have so many cool classes and races, man. Already from that last video, I'm fumbled on what I want to play.
Up a brand new race. Of course, they could always theoretically do it, but I seriously doubt they would. Because that would be like forcing a new race into the world of Lord of the Rings. It would feel off among all the already established rules. I strongly doubt you wanna
Foxwoman.
put a bunny person next to Aragorn. With that said, don't worry, because the lore will allow Riot to make up new races and make them feel natural. I'll show you their clever system in just a moment. But for now, just know that yes, we already know
That's
the
right, Mal.
races of this world. So the question is not going to be what races Riot is going to make up. The question is going to be, from the races that already exist, which ones will be playable? And perhaps more importantly, how will they be playable? You see, a few years back I released a similar video where we talked about the classes and the races together with TB Skyen. And today, I would not recommend you watch that video. Back then, I was still clinging onto the idea that faction-based MMOs were a good idea. It worked for WoW, and it worked for my guilty pleasure, WildStar. Unfortunately, what I didn't know is that merely a
I don't think Riot Games should have a faction thing. What do you guys think? Do you guys want Horde and Alliance again, like Noxians and Demacians? I don't think they should. We'll see though. We'll see. Because if everyone can play together, that's just more PvP and more raids you could do. Like having 2 factions just splits it so hard. Yeah, okay. You guys are on the side. Yeah, I'm on that side too.
year later, the idea of faction-based MMOs would crumble to dust. That's because factions have a massive flaw. Besides the fact that
does.
PvP is almost guaranteed to be one-sided. I mean, who would want to play for the losing side? Especially if there is no compensation. Classic WoW is a perfect proof of that, not to mention New World. But also, if you split everyone into two sides, you are splitting up your player base. And that is almost never a good idea. You simply don't want to prevent people from playing together. The reason why in the past it worked for WoW is because Blizzard heavily played into the faction pride. People were proud to fight for the Horde or the Alliance. But even back then, it really wasn't perfect. And then people started min-maxing the game and they realized that factions didn't matter. And that's where Riot has the edge. You may know that League of Legends has a lot of different regions.
People are lizard, dude. I played WoW for 17 years. Some people take pride in that. They literally like tattoo for the Horde or for the Alliance, and they are dead on. Like they're like racist to Alliance or racist to Horde. Like they hate each other. It's crazy, man.
All act independently and they all have unique relationships with their neighbors. Because of this, forcing faction alliances into this world would ruin the already established lore. So PvP factions are most likely not going to be a thing. However, despite that, League absolutely has faction pride. People love it when a new Shurima champion is announced because people love that place. And people love it when the new champion is not Ionian because goddamn we have too many Ionians. Nearly every League of Legends player has a favorite region. And you bet when the MMO comes out, people will want to play for that region. And this is where the brilliance of Riot's world kicks in. You see, the fundamental lore of League of Legends is based around the idea that anyone can be from any region. After an event the story refers to as the Westward Migration, races mixed up all around the world. So it's not like there is a furry region where you can only see furries. There are definitely regions where you can see more furries, but
wait, if that's furry, dude, I'm a furry, chat. If that's a furry, I'm furry, dude.
this world doesn't have exclusives.
That's better than WoW furry, dude. WoW furry is like skate, like dragon people, Worgen, Vampira, what else? Panda. Riot Games furry looks way better, I will
I'm a
say.
League of Legends addict and I'm only silver with my high being gold 1 series into plat.
Good enough, man. Cheesy, thank you for the 35 month. I'm proud of you, buddy, okay? I'm proud of you, dude.
Means that when you're picking up what you want to play, besides just
WoW
picking a
furry
race and a
sucks.
class combination, I strongly suggest Riot also allows people to pick their origin, with the origin being the starting region. Without a system like this, you would force all human champions to be, for example, Noxian. And that is simply not how this world works. So, I've been mumbling about how this world works for quite a while. So now, let's actually dive into all the races that exist in this universe. Spoiler alert, League doesn't have too many different races.
Maybe make it where you can make human and you have the starting area, but you can choose to go to kind of like Scryers or Aldor and Shadra. You remember those reputations, chat? You get to choose one, but you're like neutral, so you can like visit other places too. Because if you're just Noxus and you can't go anywhere of these, that would suck. I think they should just spawn somewhere, small forest, whatever, do your quest, and then you get to travel. Or I don't know, maybe they could just add it up where you travel to everywhere.
Because it's focusing on depth over variety. Of course, as it is with any RPG, there is the human race. But it would be cool if the humans varied depending on their origins. For example, if you pick a human
I'm
from
sure
the
they already have it all
Freljord, they
down.
would be an Iceborn and they would have extra frost resistance.
Dude, that guy looks like The Rock, doesn't he? He kind of does.
A
Sorry.
Demacian could have a bit more magic resistance, Ionians could have a bit more nature resistance, Shurimans heat resistance, and so on. I think it's going to be crucial for Riot to preserve the feeling of every origin feeling at least slightly different. This is an RPG after
You're right,
all,
FF does have that. You get to choose, or I guess whatever class you're playing, you'd spawn in that area. Which is Limsa Losa place. Oh, did that? What's that? What's that other place, chat? The Mist place, and I forgot. I forgot, man. It's like a desert area, man. I can't wait going from Blizzard that's knee deep in sexual assault complaints to the next company that's knee deep into sexual Okay, they're both getting better at it, right? I'm sure things changed, and hopefully they're treating the people right. Yes. Oda, yes, Oda. Oh my god,
Despite the fact
Gridania.
that
Yes.
balancing is usually a big issue, I strongly believe these RPG elements have to be preserved. But if Riot is afraid of people min-maxing the game from the very beginning, focusing on the origin stat with the most value, Riot can always do the safe thing and only give each origin different customization. In the Freljord, people tend to be more pale with lush beards and Nordic tattoos all over their bodies. Shurimans have the classic dreadlock style. People from Bilgewater have the pirate crew tattoos. Piltovans are your fancy mustache people, and Ionians have the wild untamed hair and beards. So even without special origin stats, I do believe these unique character customizations would enhance the region pride too. So that's what humans would be about. Pretty versatile and nothing too
I think that's perfect. A human, uncommon, familiar with all those other places, and you get to visit everywhere.
special in an RPG
I think that's
world.
perfect.
So now, let's have a look at the more unique races. After humans, the second most spread out race are the Vastaya. As we mentioned in the last video, the Vastaya are a race that came to be after humans started mating with magical animals.
Hey,
But the
yo!
thing is, depending on where they are from, there are loads of different kinds of Vastaya. From cat boys to fox girls to lizard girls. In fact, here's a fact.
Lizard! Lizard people!
Family tree of all the Vastayan tribes, and even
Damn,
this doesn't
that's
cover
wild.
all of them. And this is where Riot can pull off something genius. As I said, this world already has set rules, so it would be very difficult to introduce a brand new race into this universe. However, it is going to be very easy to just make up a new Vastayan tribe. So I propose that Riot doesn't make the Vastaya as a playable race overall, but instead it would be cool if Riot let the specific tribes to be playable races. This would leave the door open for them to introduce new playable races later down the line. If they cross off all the Vastaya at once, they kinda shoot themselves in the foot. But I know, here I go mumbling about how the world works again. So let's have a look at some of the specific tribes. When I say Vastaya, most people think of Ari. She comes from the Vasani that look like foxes. Although her tribe is mostly gone, the lore can justify new members to be found, so they can be playable. The Kilash tribe comes from the jungles
Oh.
between Shurima and Ixtal. These
Wait,
lion-like
where is this from? Dude, this looks badass.
people are known for hunting dangerous beasts, and they take great pride in trophy collecting. It's the average
Wild
mount collector.
Riff.
The
I need
Shimon
to play
tribe
that.
are monkey-like people from Ionia. While their older members are very wise,
Wukong
their
too.
younger members can be very goofy. The Otrani come from Mount Targon, resembling the classic goat people. Their hobbies are taking care of the stellar corns. The
I don't want to know how goat people were made, chat.
Lothland tribe are Ionians who resemble bird people. This tribe likes to combine the art of dancing with lethal assassinations. The Uvikat are something close to lizards, though they do have the ability to
I think this is way too many races, though. I think they should just start with the fox people or the cat people. Or do you guys want all the lizard and the goat? I feel like that's way too many to start with. And they can add those later. I mean, they could choose. Or maybe they choose this race and they can change the ears from like cat to lizard, goat. You know what I mean? It's that one race, but you could just change the customization.
shapeshift. Out of all of the other tribes, these are the closest to their pure blood ancestors.
80
And we
races to
also
pick? That's too
technically
many,
have
I
the
think.
Marai.
No, we're not gonna be able to play this one. This one's they got little, you know, they're like not, you know, surfing people.
Fish people whom I doubt
Yeah.
are going to be playable.
I don't think it should be
Imagine
playable. It's
modeling
weird.
boots for them. Now, these were the more pure blood tribes, but there are many more Vastaya who don't fit any of these. For example, Set has an Ionian Vastayan mother and a Noxian human father, so he doesn't really have a tribe. Long story short, the Vastaya are an incredibly versatile race and Riot can use them in a million different ways. This is where they can really go wild. But that's it for the Vastaya. So now, let's have a look at the third most popular race, the Yordles. These are the classic RPG tiny people. In League of Legends, people either adore them or hate them, there is no in between.
I don't know why Timo is such a hated character, dude.
Kinda like those guys. But not those guys, everyone hates them. There is
Well,
no
gnomes
doubt
are cool.
in my mind that Yordles will be playable. Even though they have an interesting catch. You see,
Wait, did he say he doesn't think that'll be playable? I think that'll be playable.
unlike all the other races on Runeterra, Yordles are immortal. They are essentially modes of magic that come from a hidden magical realm known as Bandle City. And because they are made of magical essence, when they die, we don't really know what happens. But we assume they return to the Bandle City and there they respawn. With that said, the lore suggests that maybe Yordles can die, but they just can't die of old age. But let's ignore that. That's a
I mean, they die in League of Legends, so I think it works the same way. I think that'll be playable race for sure.
massive rabbit hole. So, you know, when it comes to gameplay, at least corpse running is going to make sense for them. Now, because Yordles are immortal, in most cases they are always happy and cheerful. Even their home realm is very colorful because of that. But then there is also Vex, a Yordle champion who has recently been added into League of Legends, who gives Yordles an interesting perspective. You see, unlike all the other Yordles, Vex hates living. She hates the bright colors and the
Hey,
cheerfulness.
yo!
You know,
It's
it's
like
the
a
average
gothic
league player.
depressed.
So Vex is
Average
constantly
league
in
player.
deep depression and agony. All she wishes for is to leave this world, but she can't, because Yordles can't die.
Oh my god!
Anyway,
That's
just
a
like all the other
curse.
races, Yordles can be found all
That's a
around Runeterra.
curse.
There is Poppy in Demacia, Colette in Noxus, Kennen in Ionia, Rumble in Shurima, and so on. But now, so far we have only covered the races which I'm pretty sure will launch with the MMO. The humans, the Vastaya and the Yordles are the core of this world. So now we are diving into the races that still exist in this universe. But it's going to be up to Riot if they make them playable. First of all, there are the Minotaurs. The Minotaurs are different from the Vastaya because they don't have magical ancestors. They are
I've never
just
seen
a
this in League.
standalone race. Originally, the Minotaurs controlled the
I think they're gonna be like a killable, you know, like NPC. I think these are gonna be like raid or dungeons. I don't think they'll be playable. Maybe? I don't see them.
mountains south of Noxus.
Alistar.
But because
Oh my
Noxus
god, you're
is
right.
Noxus, soon they absorbed the Minotaurs into their empire.
I have not. To
With
be
that
fair, I haven't
said,
seen
some
Alistar in a long
Minotaurs
time.
fled the tyranny of Noxus and they joined the other regions. A great example is Kryl, the Minotaur fighting in the elite armies of Demacia. And yes, the Minotaurs also have the stereotypical sexy female version in this universe.
I will say they look better than female Taurens.
So they can
But
easily
I don't want to play. I would never play this.
be turned into a playable race. Next, in Bilgewater, there is an incredible amount of weird fishy people. A lot of these could be really cool playable races when Bilgewater gets its expansion. Although modeling helmets
me of, like,
for a
One Piece.
hammerhead shark is going to be interesting. We also can't forget about the trolls. Previously I showed you the ice trolls, but there are also the sand trolls. And here's an interesting fact for League veterans. We have never seen a sand troll, but because of Ezreal's adventures, we know they
Trolls.
exist. They should be around Ikathia, which is where Jax is from, who also has 3 fingers, by the way. So it is extremely likely that the mysterious Jax is a sand troll. Regardless, the majority of trolls are
I
united
never realized that. Wow.
under Trundle, the self-proclaimed Troll King, who is fighting in the service
Wait,
of
did Trundle glow up? Holy, did Trundle used to look like a loser? LOL Trundle. This is not the Trundle I remember, chat. Where's the old Trundle, man? Old. That's the Trundle I remember, dude. What the? Dude, he had a glow up. Dude, this is the Trundle I played with. Holy moly. Oh,
of Lysandra,
what a
who
glow
is
up.
a baddie even though she is morally right. So since the majority of the trolls are our enemies, I doubt they will be a playable race. Lastly, let's not forget that this universe also has Yetis. Fun fact, before everything got frozen, the Yeti civilization was very advanced. They even had their own technology based around magic. In fact,
Yeti would be
Willem,
playable.
the Yeti Nunu is riding on, is a hologram from the Yeti technology.
That's Nunu?
But
Dude,
then
Nunu
as the
changed
civilization
too.
disappeared,
Holy.
the Yetis went a bit more ferocious. So no, they won't be playable
Yeah,
either.
I don't think they should.
But that's
either.
pretty much it for the races. As I mentioned, there aren't too many different kinds. But that's because Riot is avoiding mimicking other RPGs. That's why there are no dwarves or elves here. Runeterra is simply trying to be unique in every way, and so far...
Wait, League
it
doesn't
is
have elves? Oh my god, I never noticed that.
working. Now, I also have seen some people...
Hi, Jaina. I was sick today. I had a huge headache, sore muscles. Started
What
late.
is this new schedule, Strummer LOL?
No, this won't be a new kind. This is like a once in a lifetime late stream. Usually I don't stream this late. Thank you for the 15 months though. Hi. Not too many kind. He spent 10 minutes going all over them. I mean, to be fair, it's like furry people, humans, and Yordle. There's 3 races so far, right? So I know what he's talking about. But if you go in depth with the furries, there's a lot of furry types. I hope they all don't get at it. I think that's way too many. It's complex. Oh, John has an elf. Wait, you're right. Okay, there are some elves. Wait, I thought he knew everything about League.
asking if Darkin will be playable. To which I have to say, that's like asking if you can play as a god. The Darkin
Yeah, I don't know
are
about
a
that one.
corrupted version of the Ascended God Warriors. A single Darkin can annihilate an army of 1,000. In fact, the Darkin known as Aatrox is the only being in existence that managed to kill a celestial god. He stabbed someone wielding the power of the aspect
shoot.
of war so hard, the aspect of war died.
The deck looks badass. I think this guy could be like a raid boss or something. Dungeon or something like that.
So no, I don't think Darkin will be playable. Anyway, with all the races covered, assuming Riot is going to use the origin system, this is what the
Gotcha,
playable
Kairos.
races could look like. Humans are versatile, they are everywhere, there is not much to mention there. When it comes to the Vastaya, the common tribes can easily appear in Noxus, Piltover and Bilgewater. These are the regions open to everyone. On the other side, the Vastaya are closely linked to spiritual magic, so you will hardly find one in Demacia, since it is a firmly anti-magic region. And somehow...
That's a she, by the way. Wait. Wait. Aatrox is a she. This is kind of like This is an interesting topic, right? You know how in FF you could start an Oda or what's the G word chat? The mist with the double twisting snake people. Those people and Limsa Losa, right? And you get to choose where you pick a class and you choose from the area. So it could be like that. But then again, if that's the case, you kind of miss out on that starting zone, which could be fun. I guess they'll have multiple starting zones so that it's not flooded in one place. WoW has that too. For example, like the Worgen starting zone, I thought that was really fun, but not a lot of people get to experience that, right? Because it's a starting zone. It's like wasted. I guess not wasted content, but you know what I mean, right? Yeah. I'm very curious how they'll do this.
Not many Vastaya were ever mentioned in the Freljord, so Riot doesn't have to force them there. But then we have Shurima, Ionia and Targon. Assuming these would be saved for expansions, they could be used to introduce new playable races. Since
Dude, we can't talk about expansion. The game's not even out yet, man. Give us a little juice next year, please, man.
I doubt all the newcomers remember the names. The Kilash, Lothlan and
Pilaf?
Okrani are the lion people, bird people and goat people.
That's a lot easier.
When it comes to the Yordles, as I mentioned, they can originate from anywhere. But they do avoid the Freljord and Targon because of the harsh climates. And yes, I know there were some prehistoric Yordles in the
What
Freljord,
the heck
but
is
after
that?
it got covered in ice, they disappeared. And
Good.
lastly, the Minotaurs
look
can be
weird.
found in Demacia and Noxus. But it does make sense for some of them to flee to the Freljord, and others to travel to Ionia during the invasion. With all of this said, remember, this is just my decently educated opinion. Since the races are pretty much mixed up all over Runeterra, Riot could also lift the limitations and let every race start in every region. And I would be fine with that. Some story would be wonky, but it wouldn't be anything horrible. Although I still believe some racial exclusivity helps the feeling of RPGs. So, all of this is still only the first half of the video. If you wanna take a break and do your business without washing your hands, now's your chance. This program will continue in 5 seconds.
I like that.
Did you wash your hands? Okay, so far we only covered the races, which was definitely still the easy part. The much more difficult part are going to be the classes. This is where Riot is facing a great challenge. Partially it's because there are inherently no wrong answers when it comes to designing a class system. You can really make anything work if you put some thought into
Holy
it. But more than
dude, I hate this. What do I choose, chat? This is gonna be the hardest choices.
that, Riot is challenged by the setting itself. League of Legends
Hardest
currently has
choices
over
of my life.
160 different champions. They each have unique abilities and together they can define about 40 different classes. I counted them myself. From these, Riot has to pick only a handful to be playable, which means the majority of the classes won't make it in. And people who
I
love
think they can take inspiration from each heroes and add it into like the abilities, right? Obviously not copy paste, but inspirations, right?
those classes will be disappointed. Thankfully, I'm not a designer, so instead of trying to figure out how to make this work, I'm going to show you all the cool, unique classes this universe has. And
Paladin?
again,
Dude, I kind of want to play this. I know like Garen and Leona's Paladin, but the Pantheon's badass.
because region pride is a big part of this universe, you'll see that some of these are tied to specific regions. But not the warrior. That one is different in every single region. So let's start with that. The warriors in this universe provide a unique challenge on top of the already difficult decisions. It's because in
Game
every
start.
region,
Stop,
the
you guys are ruining
fantasy
my
of a
immersion.
warrior is represented by something else. In Demacia, it is the Dauntless Vanguard. These are the classic knights in shiny armor pursuing
Damn.
justice. In Noxus, the traditional warrior would be part of the Trifarian Legion, which is a rank you can achieve after killing your best sparring friend in combat. These guys rarely use shields. In Shurima, the classic warrior is the warrior of the Golden Army. These are fighting for the glory of the Shuriman Emperor. In Piltover, you would have the Enforcers. Simply said, it's the cops. People will know these from Arcane. But
That sounds, I don't know why he looks so lame compared to all the other heroes, man.
in a way, the Wardens are the melee warriors of Piltover. But then, in the Freljord,
Oh,
warriors are
shit.
represented by the Berserks, either wielding
Tryndamere.
axes or giant blades as they
Holy.
worship the primal god known as the Iron
One of my
Wall.
mains.
On Targon, we have the warriors of Ra,
Holy.
which are somewhat themed
I'm
after
playing
the classic
Pantheon, dude.
Spartan armies. Then, in Ionia, the classic warrior is known as a Blade Master, with samurai-styled swords that have a rich history in this region. Also, there are the Vuju Blade Masters, which are on a totally different level. The Vuju technique is so powerful it was forbidden from using it in combat. The TLDR version of the story is that when Noxus invaded Ionia, Master Yi obliterated entire Noxian legions on his own.
Holy
Before
Master
Noxians
Yi.
realized how overpowered he was, and they nuked the town where the Vuju Blade Masters were trained. So now there is no more Vuju Blade Masters, just normal Blade Masters. And lastly, the common warrior
Oh
in
shit,
Bilgewater
Messi is
would
OP
be
then.
a brawler. You see, I just named 8 different kinds of warriors. How is Riot going to handle this?
Dude, that guy looks badass. Holy moly.
I don't know. They could just make one warrior class and then just have the players play out the fantasy while wearing cool armor sets. Or they could make it so that every origin has a different skin of the class. You know, all the abilities would be the same, they would be doing the same numbers, but when a Noxian swings a weapon, there is a bloody trail, and when an Iceborne Berserk swings a weapon, there is a frosty effect. But again, this is for Riot to figure out. Now I'm just going to show you.
I'm pretty sure they have all the bone structure laid out, and they're just, you know, polishing it a little bit. 2023 early beta chat.
All the unique and interesting classes from this universe. In Demacia, we have the Mage Seekers. These are the people who hunt down mages.
Yeah, they're polishing it for
they
6
carry
years.
with them a stone disc called the Grey Mark. This is the tool that allows them to absorb magic. So this would be sort of an anti-magic class. There are also a lot of iconic Demacian scouts. Also, Demacia has a lot of stories about theaters and bards. But Demacia also brought spotlight onto the Sentinels. The Sentinels of Light are people dedicated to fighting the undead. Because the undead can't really be killed with normal weapons. They use the relic stones that can be forged into any weapon. Be it a crossbow, a gun, a really
Bang.
big gun,
Holy.
or even a sword. Fun fact, in the lore, the Sentinel guns don't have triggers. You have to will it to fire with every fiber of your body. So of course, Lucian canonically fired it with his PP. Lastly, this will be unknown to even
What
veteran
the-
League players. But Demacia put a really cool twist onto the Paladin class. You see, in League of Legends, when you play as Garen, his ultimate is to smite his enemies with a giant holy blade. This made people
Okay.
wonder, is Garen a mage? In Demacia? Actually, no. In the lore, Garen has never done anything even similar to this. And that's because there is something even cooler happening. Most people in Demacia pray to the aspect of justice, which they call the Winged Protector. That's why Demacia has a lot of angelic statues. Coincidentally, the aspect of justice can also be found in
Holy!
its scale. So what's happening is that when Garen is casting his ultimate, it is not him magically creating a
scale?
holy blade in the sky. It is actually the aspect of justice answering his call.
I see.
So even though this universe doesn't really have a paladin class, which would be casting
So he's doing holy damage, is what he's trying to say.
holy spells, this would be a really cool alternative. People who worship the aspect of justice and let her answer their calls. Pretty cool, but now let's move on to Noxus. Noxians are one of the only regions who harvest
Oh,
black powder,
shit.
so they also have their own mercenaries with functional guns. In Noxus you can also find a lot of demonic cultists, so I would expect a warlock or a demon summoner, and they also have a few renowned assassin guilds. And the most unique of them all, Noxus also has a circle of hemomancers, people who follow Vladimir, a lord who used to be a hostage to the Darkin, and who eventually learned how to use their blood magic. So these people use the very same blood magic that shaped the
They look
Darkin.
like edgy gothic people, that little
Then
slideshow he
in
did.
Shurima, we may find arcane mages. These people follow Xerath, the most powerful
Ooh.
mage on Runeterra, whose body has been reduced to nothing but arcane energy. I would honestly love to see this class in-game, because I love the idea of having an Archon form on cooldown.
That'd be
Shurima
sick.
also has some prophets who can open up tiny portals into the void and summon tiny
Malzahar.
void creatures. It would be sort of like Warlock in WoW. You know,
Sure.
use the power of the enemy against themselves. Then there are the Sand Shifters, people who can use the sand to create sand
Ooh,
mirror
that'd be
images.
sick.
And we can't forget about the Chronomancers, people who use time magic in a lot of creative, interesting ways. Then in Piltover, riding off of the success of Arcane, people will want to play as a Warden, which is a more elite version of the Enforcers. These would be equipped with sniper rifles and stun grenades. On the crafty side, there are also the Hextech Engineers. These are the people who can use science to allow them to wield magic even if they are not mages. And separate from them, there are also the Artificers. To them, anything from a powerful arm, to blade legs should be possible.
Arcane.
And down in Zaun, I would love to see some kind of an alchemist who's using questionable drugs to help his allies. Next we go into the Freljord. Here we can find the Draklorn Inquisitors, which are Lyssandra's followers with abilities themed around true ice. Essentially, these would be frost battle mages. But perhaps the most iconic for the Freljord would be the Shamans. These worship the animalistic primal gods of the Freljord, and all their abilities mimic the primal gods, be it a bear, a fox, a mammoth, or a boar. Then on Targon we would find a lot of people with celestial powers. You know, calling down stars and such. But there are also the Solari who use the power of the sun to enhance their attacks. They also wear massive plated armor, so this would be the tank class.
Leona.
Or the Lunari who use the power of the moon to stay in the shadows. This would be more of an assassin class. Besides these, there are also a lot of star callers around, and even draconic worshippers. Then in Ionia, besides the Vuju Blade Masters, which would be far too overpowered, some people choose to fight without a blade. These would be the monks of
I love
Arana.
Lee Sin. He was such a cool
They channel the power
character.
of Ionian dragons to empower their limbs. And don't worry, they are a bit
What
different
do you mean,
from the
Jane?
traditional
Throwing
monks.
sand?
They are far more badass. Think less Bruce Lee and more Dragon Ball. But of course, Ionia is also home to the Kinku ninjas.
Damn, I want to play a
Their
ninja
goal
class
is to maintain
too.
balance in Ionia. This means that when a spirit starts killing people, the ninjas go out and deal with the spirit. And when people start terrorizing the spirits, the ninjas go out and deal with the people. Most of these are your classic ninjas empowered with spiritual magic. But some are
Play them
using the
all? It's an
forbidden
MMO. I don't
shadow
know if I can
technique.
play them all.
And while they surely look evil, just like anything in League of Legends,
Holy dude, if this is a classic Zed, that'd be so cool.
it's not really one-sided. These ninjas are simply using questionable techniques to protect their homeland. And honestly, the Shadow Ninjas are so iconic for Ionia, I really do believe they will be playable. Then we get to Bilgewater. Besides all the things that you could do with pirates and monster hunters, the most iconic class of this place are the priests of Buru. The Buru worship the god of motion called Nagakeboros. While they are priests, they fight with full physical strength, while borrowing power from the god to empower themselves. Usually this means the god spawns tentacles to smack the enemies around, but they also have healing powers, so that
Yo,
would
she's
be a
thick,
really
man.
cool support class. In Riot's RPG called Ruined King, you can play as Illaoi, the High Priestess of Nagakeboros,
Holy.
and there you can see all the attacks she can pull off. And this takes us to the last place, Ixtal, which will most likely be saved for an expansion. As I mentioned in the last video, Ixtal specializes in only one
Funny.
thing, elemental magic. So if elemental mages become a class, and they should, even in League elemental dragons are a core mechanic, they would come from Ixtal. But that's it for all the unique classes this universe has to offer. Funnily enough, when I was drafting all these classes, I realized a lot of them fall under specific categories. So going with the skin idea for all the classes
Holy,
wouldn't
there's
be
so
too
many.
unreasonable. But
Chat,
developing
how many classes do you think they'll have?
so many artistic variations of the classes would be taxing.
Maybe like 10,
So
8
overall,
or 10.
I believe Riot should
I think
not
8 or
care
10.
about disappointing some players for not including
No,
their
I don't
favorite
think they should have
class.
too many.
With
That's gonna
so
be
many
hard
options,
for them.
it's going to happen anyway. Instead,
At least
pick a
two-
couple
yeah,
of
at least two
classes
for sure.
that simply make sense for you. You know, a Blade Master here, an Arcane Mage there, and just have fun. Having fun during development usually translates into great experiences. And I hope I'm not pressuring anyone by stirring up hype. If anything, I'm just happy that people find these videos interesting. And all I'm doing is presenting information that Riot released over the past 10 years. I mean, I know the video is interesting because Asmon only paused 3 times and he said,
That's fucking cool.
and
I like it a lot.
and
What the fuck? This is actually really cool.
This is cool spell.
I didn't know any of this.
that to me marks a big success. Next time we are going
That's
to talk
really
about all the
cool.
already established raid bosses of this universe. Which is a very personal topic for me. You know, I am a father, my son is 2 years old. So by the time this MMO comes out, he's going to be
Oh, dude, he's gonna be busy.
just the right age to heal my raids.
He's gonna be a gamer. If he starts playing since 5, he's gonna be a gamer, dude. That was a great video, chat. Good video. Here you guys go. Next video, there's another one? Dude, I cannot wait, man. Chat, what race are you guys gonna play? The furry people? The normal human people? Or the shorties, the Yordle gang? I think either furry or human for me. I'm not playing a shorty, chat. Yeah. Humans, yeah. Ari or Yordi? You wanna play the Yordi people, man? Shit, dude. Dang, I can't wait. Hopefully, next year, chat. Next year, we see some, early alpha content. Okay, Nomson has one more for us, sure. Is it by the same guy? Dude, this was a movie. This was a movie. This was a 52-minute, brother. Holy.